With the stock market at record highs, are you prepared for the next downturn? Corrections can be unforgiving. Smart investors know diversification is the key to financial security. Noble Gold Investments make it easy to diversify with gold. With over $2 billion in sales, Noble Gold has helped thousands of Americans add gold to their portfolios. Open a qualified account today and receive 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins as a thank you. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Don't let the next correction catch you off guard. NobleGoldInvestments.com.
Let's just go ahead and play cut 95.
The first week that the president was in office, signed an executive order as it relates to birthright citizenship, trying to eliminate that. Now, 22 state attorney generals have said that this is unconstitutional. A federal judge has just agreed with their argument. What's the administration's argument for doing away with birthright citizenship?
The folks that you mentioned have a right to have that legal opinion, but it is in disagreement with the legal opinion of this administration. This administration believes that birthright citizenship is unconstitutional, and that is why President Trump signed that executive order. Illegal immigrants who come to this country and have a child are not subject to the laws of this jurisdiction. That's the opinion of this administration. We have already appealed the lawsuit that was filed against this administration, and we are prepared to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to, because President Trump believes that this is a necessary step to secure our nation's borders and protect our homeland.
Blake, I thought that was the appropriate place to start here, given the conversation with John Eastman. What's your take on President Trump and this administration's odds of success at the Supreme Court?
I have some friends who've clerked at the Supreme Court. All the Supreme Court justices have clerks. They're very important in the whole process of creating opinions, creating the rulings that they give. And they can give a lot of insight into how the Supreme Court works because it's a bit of a black box. And unfortunately, what they told me is they're skeptical on the birthright citizenship one. The line I heard was maybe like 2 votes is the most likely, and you're probably under 50% on the third vote, which they believed would be Gorsuch. So you're looking at a tough uphill battle. You're thinking, well, maybe Sotomayor will die or have to retire. You could replace her. Maybe Roberts will retire. Maybe you get that 5th vote from Gorsuch. But another thing that can be said is if this becomes a public debate, if you suddenly have it being made very clear that the new conservative consensus is this was wrongly decided, you can start getting all those. People will start writing the papers, giving the lectures, writing op-eds, laying out the Constitution. Universal birthright citizenship is a misreading of the Constitution. And Supreme Court justices, it's not even saying they respond to public opinion. They're human beings, and they can be influenced by what the wider zeitgeist is, what the growing consensus is, and you can maybe influence them in that direction. It will also matter if they start getting clerks who have been, raised in that sentiment, in the Federalist Society and those groups that raise conservative guys. That said, overall, I don't think our odds are great, but it would be better for us to get an explicit Supreme Court ruling on this than to have the existing situation where we're just going off a 150-year-old Supreme Court decision that everyone is just taking for granted that it means this. It would be explicitly lay out the supposed reasoning, because then that reasoning can be attacked. We can make it a new litmus test for future Supreme Court justices and so on.
Yeah, I'm worried you might be right. I find that disheartening. This was just a mic drop moment. I'm going to play. This is Karoline Leavitt on illegal immigrants. One of the themes from this was that legacy news media cared so much about illegal immigrants. They call them undocumented migrants. Well, that is a sleight of hand trick that they use to make you feel compassion for people that broke our laws and are not here under our welcome. They will be removed. Karoline Leavitt made that very clear. 97.
Can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
Blake, your thoughts on Karoline's mic drop moment? Pretty cut and dry, as I would see it.
Yeah, it gets at the most appealing thing about this early administration. Well, second most. The most appealing thing is how aggressive they've been, how they clearly came in with a plan. We're going to do lots of stuff. We're going to do this blitzkrieg, this shock and awe strategy. It's going to overwhelm the 24-hour news cycle's ability to keep up with it. But the other thing is just this total attitude shift. And for you or I, we grew up in we came of age in this very defeated late George W. Bush and then later McCain, Romney era, where conservatives were very overawed rhetorically. They always kind of were apologetic. They kind of needed permission for the opinions they would hold. And it made them them naturally weak. When you basically need permission to do anything from your enemies, shocker, they won't give you permission to do it. So if you're going to be a winning party, you just have to be a lot more assertive. And that's not just assertive in policy, it's assertive in every single dimension of politics. So they're vastly more gung-ho, just, yep, they're illegal immigrants, they're here illegally, we're going to do this. And they just have to play ball with it. And so I even, I've said it behind, I think the Gulf of America thing is kind of silly, and I'm probably not going to call it that myself, but the sheer cojones to make that push. We're yep, we're going to be renaming things because, the left renames things all the time and you guys all cheerlead it. We can do that too. It's this very aggressive posture that is the sort of thing that gets you wins. The more aggressive party in politics tends to get what it wants.
Yeah, I think that's right, Blake. And I want to go back to what you just said, this assertive tone, this change. You saw this also with the J.D. Vance interview with Margaret Brennan at CBS over the weekend, where he said, frankly, Margaret, I don't care. I don't give a damn with some of the memes that were coming out. Let's go ahead and play. I believe it was this cut 2.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted. Good. These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted. And because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
Well, it didn't have that line, but it was still very, very good. Peachy Keenan, who's come on this show actually recently because her house almost burned down in Los Angeles. She made a really interesting point, Blake, about that look, that legacy news media, that look that Margaret Brennan, where she kind of, it's just a elitist, smug tone where they try and get in a point and sneer at you. And it's basically like this, her observation with this is a look that these, elitist journalists have been giving conservative politicians, leaders for a long time. And it basically says, you're so dumb, you don't deserve to be here. And it's worked for years. And that's why I think this tone shift is so powerful. We go back to this politics downstream of culture or vice versa question. Yeah, that's the look. Look at all these looks if you're watching on the stream. This is the look that they give you, and it's worked. And when we talk about what this is doing to the culture, we are seeing a reascendance and a reemergence of this powerful masculine energy that wants to protect the country, and we won't be cowed by these women anymore.
Yeah, it's
or men.
and just the sniping questions, all of that. And I think that will also be a boon from the way they've changed the White House the White House press briefings to incorporate more podcasters and the like. And, what's funny is if you watch Joe Rogan interview someone, it actually often comes off as more professional than, that weekend interview was. He's able to probe at someone. He's actually able to interrogate someone's premises. He can actually be a pretty aggressive, even hostile interviewer.
Blake, I don't even want to play the clip. You can just, the floor is yours. Take a bow on the UFO thing, and I want to get into eggs. All right? Okay.
All
UFO,
right.
Yours.
Yes. All right. Now, let us just all remember at the start of the year, we had those mysterious sightings of all the drones. No, it wasn't even at the start of the year. It was the end of last year. All those drones in New Jersey. We debated it on the show. What are the drones? And I will just say, I told you guys, it's just people freaking out. It's just a panic. Everyone's going to forget about it once there's something new on television. And it was true. Everyone forgot about it once something new was on television. But they came back to it today in the press conference. The Karoline Leavitt delivered an update, and it was approved FCC flights plus some hobbyists. FAA flights plus some hobbyists. And then just, people got excited and they were all looking in the sky and they started seeing things because normally you don't look at the sky. But it was all normal.
All right.
It was just people freaking out.
Blake was right. All right. Blake was right. We'll give it to you, Blake. All right. We're going to move on to the eggs thing because, yes, you take the bow, Blake. The eggs thing, I think, is actually hilarious because I think it's a big self-own, admitting that they are, in fact, losing on every single front. So what is the left doing? They're like, well, Trump's been in office for 6-7 days, and he hasn't lowered the price of eggs. So, I'm sorry, but if that's what you're clinging to, and you spent the last 4 years defending how high the price of eggs has gone, I think you should sit this one out. But let's go ahead and play the clip. It looks like, clip 101. This is Karoline Leavitt setting the record straight.
Egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration.
Well, and what she doesn't mention there is the fact that 100 million chickens were killed because of an outbreak of avian flu, bird flu. So the whole point here is these are adversarial media. We get it. They're going to try and play gotcha games with her, but there's really no gotcha to be had. The price increase that you're seeing in eggs right now was a process set in motion by the previous administration, both inflationary pressures and spending, but also because a lot of birds have been killed that lay eggs. Therefore, the supply has gone down, the price is going to go up. Now, whether or not Trump can fix that, remains to be seen. I would think there's some things we can do, but, growing 100 million new and raising 100 new chickens to lay eggs is going to take a little bit of time. But Blake, just react to the fact that their best thing, I mean, this is like Harry Sisson to that Parker kid. They're all posting about eggs online. They think it's like this big own on President Trump. Is that really all they have?
Yeah, it's definitely a retread. They just have to dig up. Well, it worked on Biden. But contextually, the reason it worked on Biden was a few things. It worked on Biden because Biden very obviously did stuff to cause massive inflation. He let 1 million people into the country. He continued COVID lockdowns while continuing to give tons of stimulus to try to offset it. And then, most importantly, the Biden administration massively lied about it. They said all of 2021, there's no signs any inflation is going to happen. Definitely not. Ignore what all of your friends are saying. Ignore the menus at the restaurant. They just lied about it for ages. Then they belatedly admitted it was happening and then passed a bill that they called the Inflation Reduction Act that did nothing to reduce inflation and was, in fact, a bunch of additional spending. So the reason it worked on Biden was that everything in his terrible administration came together to force this giant inflation narrative. Whereas, okay, Trump, egg prices are going up. I suspect they will do their best to handle that, but it's not fitting into this wider epidemic of failure that was the Biden administration.
All right, Blake, last question. 10 seconds here, 15 seconds. Give the first week of the Trump administration a grade.
Honestly, I'm just going to say 10 out of 10. They came out, they did the stuff that I wanted a Trump administration to do in its first week. They have done. I can't confirm it's all going to work out long term. We'll see on birthright. We'll see on deportations. But they are doing what I wanted them to do week one. Maybe 9.5. I still think Gulf.
Blake Neff, Mr. Cynical,
maybe 9.5.
Mr. Contrarian.
I still think Gulf of America is a little whatever. They're going to do their thing. But
I'm going to get a T-shirt made for the audience. As a matter of fact, you get that at charliekirk.com/store, coming out soon. Thanks. That's all we've got. Blake, Neff, we'll see you tomorrow. Charlie will be back in the chair.